Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kasha Sewing and Fashion Center. My name is Brenda Holtz, and I am here today to share with you some need-to-know basics for your sewing journey. Now, I will be doing a series of mini courses focused on tools of the trade. Now, there's a lot of stuff out there to help you along your journey, but you may or may not need it all. So what I want to share with you today is what I have been using that has enhanced my journey on my sewing journey. So today I'm going to focus on pressing tools. So this is what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the pressing tools I have used and how they have enhanced my sewing. So if without further ado, we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few of the pressing tools that I use in my sewing journey. And I always start with the pressing surface. So it can be a portable ironing board like this one, or it could be a full ironing board, or it could actually be a pressing mat. So it's kind of really up to you. If you have some of those things, I say use them. Don't go out and buy anything new unless you're ready to step up to another level. But you also are going to need an iron. And it doesn't have to be a very, very expensive iron. It's kind of like up to you. If you already have one, I know if you're sewing, you should already have an iron. And it doesn't have to be a very expensive iron. Now, I've gotten irons for less than 20 bucks. This one was probably more like 50 bucks. But it's up to you. You just need an iron that has some steam, because steam is going to be very important for relaxing your seams so they don't look like they're puckering. So I also have in this little wooden thing is called a pressing clapper and point presser and clapper. And this is 2-in-1 because sometimes you can also find them like in tailoring equipment. You can also find just the bottom part. It's just a clapper, and you just kind of hold the seams down, and they will take the tension out of your stitching. Now I have a little sample here. I'm going to press that out because whenever you're pressing a seam, you always press it flat first. I press it flat to release all the tension out of the stitching. Then you're going to open it up. Now you could possibly do this on let me just cut this because it's got a little fold in there. It's got a little fold in there, so I'm going to cut it and open it up just a little bit. Okay, so when you open this up, you're going to press it. And I like to finger press. I call it finger pressing. So you can finger press just a little bit. You can see it this way. And I use the point of my iron, starting at the beginning, top of the seam, and press all the way down. And then I take my clapper, put it over there while it's still hot. That way it holds the steam in your seam and then flattens everything out. So you'll get a nice pressed seam without them puckering up a lot. That's the back, and this is the front. So it really does hold your seams flat and right on the seam, because when you're pressing, you want to make sure you're pressing right on that seam. You don't have any pleats in there, because sometimes you can press some pleats in there, and that's not good. So also you have a sleeve board. Let me put this over here. Oh, I want to show you too, on the clapper, you can also press out the seams, the narrow ones, especially if they're really, really narrow. You can press them right on the top of this seam. And also, like if you're pressing like a collar, you can also use the point presser to get to the end of that point. Anytime you're doing a sample or a garment or something that has a point on it or a corner, you can use this little point presser to press all the way to the corner. So I'm just going to finger press it like this. and then just press it right on top, just like that. And you'll still get a nice little press sample front and back. And it's basically used for little tight areas. Like sometimes when I'm trimming, I can trim my seams down to maybe like 3/8 of an inch. Then I would use this to press it on top because the seams are so small sometimes you can't always get to where you need to get to. So that's another tip with the point presser. But this one is used for sleeves. Now, when you're working with a sleeve, you can put the sleeve all the way up here to the top of the cap of the sleeve. It'll fit all the way up to here, and you can press out your sleeve without putting a crease in. And that's the whole purpose, because sleeves should not have a crease in, especially if it's a jacket. Now, in a shirt, maybe yes, but a jacket, no. You should pull that sleeve all the way up to the end, and then you can press all the way up to the tip of the cap of the sleeve and press that out, and you just keep moving it round and round, and you can end up pressing the whole sleeve without putting a crease in it. Okay? And it flips over, so either side works, or you can do it this way. I'm left-handed, so you just use it the way you is accustomed to using it. Now, there's a couple of other pressing things that I have here. And let me just show this for your iron, because you're probably going to need this in your arsenal. It's called iron off or hot iron cleaners. Okay, so if you ever got interfacing on your iron because you pressed it on the wrong side, you'll end up with the interfacing on your iron. So you have to really get that off, and sometimes it's really hard to get off. And sometimes you get some little cruddy stuff on your iron. This you should have in your arsenal. Let me turn it this way, so that you will be able to clean your iron efficiently, so that you don't get residue and stuff like that on your garments from interfacing or whatever that is you iron. Sometimes you can burn your fabric, and then you have to get the fabric off the iron. So just make sure you have something that you can use to clean your iron, so you can continue working with your project. You don't have to stop and go to the store and figure out how to clean it off. You already have something in your arsenal. And you may want to use also a sponge. Now, what I do is I keep a sponge available, because sometimes I may press in a crease, and it's a hard crease. So you want to wet your sponge, and then you want to rub it over the crease, because that relaxes the crease. Just kind of dampen it a little. Don't wet it too much. Just dampen it a little bit like this until the crease, and kind of rub it a little bit to get the crease out. Because sometimes if you press it, the crease won't come out. But if you wet it with a little sponge, let it relax, and then press it, you can get that crease out. With a little steam, press it out, okay? Also, pressing cloth. You will probably need like a pressing cloth to go over very delicate fabrics. And if I think that my iron is going to melt my fabric, I always use a pressing cloth to press where I need to press. And it's always good for very, very delicate fabrics to use a pressing cloth to press certain areas in your garment. It really does help keep your iron from, because sometimes even if it doesn't burn a hole in it, it could just how you say, scrunch up your garment, and you have an iron put in your garment. So it's best to be, test your fabric to make sure that your iron is not too hot. But if it is a delicate fabric, I would always have like a pressing cloth so that I don't have to, burn my garment. Now, this is a tailoring tool. This is a pressing knit, because you can get into areas, especially if it's like a men's jacket or a sleeve or something like that. You can get up in there and press a lot easier, because sometimes you can't always use the sleeve board. You can use it as much as you can, but sometimes for little areas, you may need something that's just a little dab. So you put it on your hand and you press those little areas out like that. Okay, so sometimes you need a little pressing knit, but you don't want to burn your hand. You just want to be able to press that out, because pressing is important. Now you also have a sleeve roll. A sleeve roll is also to press your sleeves. And, all of this stuff is optional because if you have a sleeve board, sometimes you don't really need a sleeve roll. But I always have them on hand just in case because sometimes sleeves are very narrow and you can't get up in there with the board, the sleeve board, but you can with a sleeve roll, just stick it in there and then you can just press on the roll itself. And sometimes you can use it for shaping, but you also have like a pressing hand, and this is used for shaping too, especially in certain areas like collars, lapels, and things like that. You need to shape them over a surface, and the hand is good for that. So that you can mold those areas in a jacket, especially if you're going to be doing some tailoring, because tailoring is a lot of handwork. And what they do is they're molding the collars and the lapels to lay flat to the body. That's the whole purpose of the pad stitching that they do for tailoring. And then once you get it done, you can mold it, steam it, press it, and mold it to stay at the lapels to stay in the same place. And you'll see that in a lot of men's jackets, even women's jackets too, where the lapels are nice and flat and pressed up against your body. Okay, so that is basically all that I have been using in my sewing journey. Of course, the ironing board, I don't know if I mentioned that, but you do need an ironing board or ironing surface. But these are some of the things that you can use in your sewing journey to add to your arsenal that will help enhance your journey. Now, if you have not started your journey, some of these little techniques that I'm showing you are in the courses that I teach, the So Amazing online courses. And actually, this particular little mini series is in the beginner series because I focus on a lot of things that would help you along the way. So when you get to the second course, you will already know how to handle a lot of things like pressing your seams out and opening them up, finger pressing. I go over a lot of vocabulary. So there's a lot of things that you can glean from a beginner course, as well as all the other courses. So if you're interested in learning more about these techniques and things, you can go to my So Amazing online courses on the link below. Other than that, that is all that I have for you today. So look for me in the next course because we're going to continue to focus on tools of the trade. Bye for now.